we're supposed to be about ethics. There's supposed to be something called legal ethics. I'm horrified by this.
Wilton Dedge was very, very small, and the perpetrator was described as being very, very big. So this was an extremely weak eyewitness identification case, and 78% of the time in our DNA exonerations, it's been a mistaken eyewitness identification, the single greatest cause of the conviction of the innocent.
Around 3 o'clock in the morning, I heard a noise. A man jumped on my bed, put a knife to my throat, and covered my mouth as I screamed. And it was at that moment that I knew he was going to rape me. The next thing I knew, there were police officers there. They said, "Did you think you got a good look at him? Do you think you could recognize him? Do you think you could give us a good description of the man who raped you?" And I said, "Yes, I do." I looked in his face. Yeah, I can identify this man. So I sat down and I began to piece together what my rapist looked like, and it went into the newspapers. And sure enough, we had a phone call from a woman who said the composite sketch looks so much like a man, and his name happens to be Ronald Cotton. Ronald Cotton was found guilty of first-degree rape, first-degree sexual offense, and sentenced to life in prison. In June of '95, I get a phone call, and they said, "Jennifer, you were wrong. Ronald Cotton was not your rapist." And there's the picture of Bobby Poole, my rapist, and Ronald Cotton. Ronald's face had become so ingrained in my memory that I didn't even recognize Bobby Poole.
Y'all didn't get lost, did you?
No, but I thought I passed it. I know I passed it.
No, you didn't. I know.
Good seeing you.
Good to see you.
I know. I was trying to remember when the last time you and I saw each other. But I thought I'd obviously seen you the night of my rape. But it was the physical lineup, and I can remember standing there looking at you going, "Oh, God," you know. Of course, not knowing how you were feeling, you were probably feeling the same way.
Yeah, it just tore me all up, you know. I said, you know, why are they doing this to me? You know, what did I do to deserve something like that? That's what I'm asking myself. I had already saw the drawing of the suspect, and I said, that's not me. The guy ears stuck out at the top.
You were the closest likeness of the drawing. You had become my rapist.
I just couldn't believe it, you know. I just tipped my head, looked around the court, looked at all the jurors, and so I decided to write me a letter, request, you know, to have DNA done, and they found out that the evidence had been saved and it could have been easily, you know, destroyed.
So I knew that I needed to somehow apologize, but I didn't know, of course, what you were going to say to me.
Right.
And it took you like 2 seconds. 2 seconds
well,
to
you know, I
forgive me.
debated over that issue, you know, while I was incarcerated. I thought about you. You know, I said, I know I can't make up for lost time. I wouldn't even attempt to, you know. I just have to live, forgive, and keep moving on.
To say we're friends is just, it's not enough. Ronald and I have a relationship that is so unique. Change one person's life and you've changed the world. So when you walk out of here, when you graduate, change the world. Don't be afraid to change it.
Aaron, how are you? How you doing?
All right.
Good to see you. How you
Hey, right
been?
there, man.
All right. How you doing?
See, I'm loaded up here.
I see that. What do you got in here?
Got a little girl. Just had on 29.
You got a real one in there.
Yeah, I ain't wasting no time.
Aaron Patterson was one of 4 men that I had pardoned that had been tortured to confess for crimes they didn't commit and had been sentenced to death row. So what are you doing on all your time?
Trying to get guys jobs that's coming out of the penitentiary.
What do they do with the guy when they turn him?
Nothing.
They just
They give them a bus ticket. They take them to the bus station, and they make sure they get on the bus or get on the train, and then that's it.
I believed that the death penalty was an important part of the system until I became governor and found out how faulted and flawed it was. I was concerned that I may have to look over my shoulder after I left office to find that an innocent person had been executed, and I had an opportunity to do something about it and hadn't. And I didn't want to live with that.
Our capital system is haunted by the demon of error. Error in determining guilt, error in determining who among the guilty deserves to die. Because of all of these reasons today, I'm commuting the sentence of all death row inmates to life without the possibility of parole.
The United States is the only democracy on this planet that executes its prisoners. When we talk about human rights and civil rights and liberties for people, we should lead the way in those kinds of attempts instead of leading the way in the administration of the death penalty.
He made it possible for me to have a life, you know. He took matters in his own hand, and that was a blessing for me as well as the city, the state, and the world. You know, it inspires others to take that bold step to do these things. When you see an injustice, you must step up and do something about it. And that's what we're trying to do out here now.
Good afternoon. My name is Nicholas James Yaris. I spent 23 years on death row for a murder I didn't commit. I spent every single day of that in solitary confinement. I was released in January of this year after DNA evidence proved me innocent. I come out here every week and hand out flyers, hoping to get the Delaware County District Attorney to enter the DNA from a murderer into the FBI's data bank. Why is this case not solved? All I want is the DNA from a murder case entered into the DNA data bank. The day that they catch the actual killer, I can go on about my life. All of the men who were exonerated by DNA on death row, the DNA is not in the data bank. Delaware County is just denying that they were wrong. They tried to murder me. So what? It's over with. I'm getting on with my life. I apologize. I hope you enjoy your lunch.
He's a good man.
Thank you, brother.
Innocent, too. And you can quote me. And the DA should be brought, the whole thing should be brought out in the open like he's trying to do. He's right.
Thank you.
I still feel like everybody needs to hear about wrongful imprisonment because everyone's a potential juror. When I first got out, I sent out brochures to police academies, but I don't think they really want their recruits hearing that they might be arresting somebody innocent. The judicial system is its own little world, and people don't want to change it.
People are afraid of change.
They're afraid of accountability.
One thing I found when I went through the letters that basic problem is too much power concentrated in the hands of prison staff with no accountability.
You're only seeing a portion of the letters that were mailed to you. According to some of these guys, the mailroom officers were shredding quite a few of the letters before they ever went out the door.
Would that be fact? Or is that...
That's what they're alleging.
We are running into some barriers, and I'm hoping, and I think that we're going to be working towards breaking down some of those barriers.
I know that the prison representative here is going to disagree with everything I'm saying, but we went through the letters and we were appalled at some of the medical conditions there, and I saw firsthand filing grievances and the indifference, and we really feel like action needs to be taken.
Of course I did.
How you doing? Good to see you again. Good to see you.
The state has taken part of their lives, and there should be no question that they deserve compensation. There is no amount that is enough. But the enactment of this legislation, which will take place later today and tomorrow, is to make a step towards discharging that moral obligation toward these men.
My name's Dennis Maher. I did 19 years, 2 months, and 29 days. This bill goes a long ways to straightening out things in our lives, like we still have records, even though we've been exonerated. This bill expunges our records. I went for an apartment. The only way I got the apartment was I brought my exoneration papers. For the security check, they would have denied me because I had 16 charges still standing against me, even though I was exonerated for all of them. I want to thank all the politicians for the work they've done, and it's been a long road. Thank you.
They want the system changed. They want it changed in a way that will benefit everyone. Future victims of crimes, people that might be picked up falsely, get them exonerated now. They want change. Their sacrifice must mean something. And it's an important motivator for me and my colleagues to make sure we vindicate the faith that they've shown in us.
What started out as a small, mom and pop operation has now mushroomed into a kind of, new civil rights movement in this country.
You been doing good?
It's not just about exonerating the innocent, it's also about reforming all of criminal justice. Because once you implement all these reforms, you've actually shifted the paradigm. The paradigm that we've lived with now for 40 years is one based on the presumption of guilt. And it returns it to one based on innocence, at least until or unless proven guilty, and also one that understands just how vulnerable our criminal justice system is, just how easy it is for truly innocent people to be wrongly convicted.
Wilton?
Yeah.
Hey, it's Nina. Listen, my dear, I have some really good news for you.
Oh, yeah?
We got the report from Reliagene, and you were excluded.
No, right.
They got a result, Wilton. They got 4 markers, and you were excluded at 3 of them.
So there's no question whatsoever.
None at all. All we needed was 1 marker to prove scientifically that you didn't contribute that semen, and we got 3.
No, right. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a lot better.
Well, listen, Wilton, you don't need me to tell you this, but you have done a lot, not just for yourself, but for so many other guys in Florida. I mean, you were the first, and you won't be the last.